This is Chapter 9 of Weeds in the Garden of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves. All rights to both the book and presentation are reserved. Welcome. We welcome all of good heart and good intent. We're going to begin. Chapter 9, The Same Boat. Laura climbed the stairs to the second floor, to the apartment listed in the ad. The door to the apartment was open. She walked into the corridor, noticing 4 doors on the left wall, and a large main room. 4 men were pushing the piano into place at the far end on the opposite wall. A woman and an older gentleman were speaking with them, and then they noticed Laura. The lady turned to her and she spoke in French accented English. "Hello." She looked at her watch and she smiled. "Are you Laura Hobson?" When Laura said that she was, one of the men positioning the piano said, "Take it one step at a time, you two. Do not make any unfounded decisions here. Be wise, Aki. I'm counting on you. This is Marie we're talking about." So saying, he walked past Laura and he went out the door. The men in moving uniforms followed him, and she heard their feet on the stairs. A young man walked towards her and shook her hand. "Don't mind him, Laura. Our father is crazy protective of my sister. She lost her fiancé earlier this year, and his protective instincts are on 1,000. I'm Bertie Saint Laurent. Let me introduce you to my mother and our Uncle Aki." Laura did her best to focus. The guy had a French accent that was tickling her brain. At least she thought it was her brain. The moving men brought up a sofa just as the group had finished shaking hands. The lady pointed and asked them to take it into a bedroom furthest from the entry door. They placed it on the floor there, and Colette beckoned Laura into the room. The young man accompanied the moving men out of the apartment. The elderly man entered the room and sat in an armchair. The lady who had been introduced as Colette invited Laura in to talk. She promptly apologized that she had not set up any refreshments. The elderly man smiled. He looked eager to begin. Colette smiled again. She asked Laura to tell her a little about herself. Laura saw Aki lean forward to listen attentively. Laura liked this place and she liked its location. It was close to her classes and it was close to the amenities. She'd calculated that she could afford the rent, so she was a little nervous as she began. "I started at Oxford last year and I lived in a dormitory, but I thought I would enjoy a quieter environment for the coming year. So when I saw your ad, I responded right away. The apartment is in an ideal location for my classes." Aki nodded and prompted her, "A quieter environment." Laura blushed and she took a breath. She felt like she might as well get it out of the way. "I'm not much of a socialite. I like people, but I don't always do well in crowds or with people who are a lot more fun than I am. I like my studies. I promised my parents that I'd do well in school and that I'd make them proud. I'm not saying this to butter you up, it's just the truth. If your daughter is a really fun sort of person, I might not be the right choice for her roommate. I'm one of those nose in a book sort of girls. When the boys notice me, it's because I can help them with their chemistry grade," she chuckled. Aki looked at Colette, who spoke next. "My daughter was always one of those nose in a book sort of girls, too. She will be studying medicine here at Oxford, and she has wanted to be a doctor since she was a very little girl. My best friend, her birth mother, also wanted to be a doctor, but she did not survive to get her wish. She would have been amazing, though. I guess it runs in the family." Medicine? Laura repeated. That's what I'm studying. What year is your daughter in? Aki fielded that question. That's a little bit complicated, he started. Marie Claire started medicine in France, where students begin a 9-year program right out of secondary school. She spent her 4th year at McGill in Canada on an exchange program because I was worried about the unrest on the campus in Paris. She returned and did another year in Paris, and then she started her 6th year last autumn. Events took a negative turn in her life, and she spent the last few months recovering. Oxford does not make it a habit of accepting students who have studied elsewhere, but a lot of people have pleaded her case. Oxford accepted her on humanitarian grounds. She will start in 3rd year and complete her doctorate here at Oxford. We realize that it's an unusual concession. Does she still love it? Laura asked. Oh, yes. It's like she was born to be a doctor. My brother and her grandfather was a doctor in rural France. Even though she never knew him, she never saw any other path for her life. She never wanted to get married until she met Philippe. She ignored her feelings, but eventually they had to see what everyone else had known forever. When she was a little girl, she always said she would never marry. She seemed to think she couldn't be a doctor and a wife. Colette chuckled softly. Her mother used to say that to me all the time. She would say that she was the one girl in a million who really meant she was never getting married. Colette looked at Aki, who cleared his throat to cover his rising emotions. What about friends and family, my dear? Will you have many visitors? Aki croaked at him. Laura squirmed a little and said, I've only been in the city for less than a year, and I have many acquaintances, but my studies have kept me very busy. As to family, no. My parents died in a car accident last year, and they were both only children as I am. So far, I've preferred to keep the place I sleep a bit of a sanctuary if possible. I'm not antisocial or anything. I just like peace. I'm not very demanding, and I'm neat and tidy. I hope you'll pick me. This is a lovely apartment, and I've done all the calculations, and I know that I can afford to pay the rent. That's the end of chapter 9. The next chapter is called Choices. We hope to see you for that one too. Bring your good heart and your good intentions, and we sure hope that you've begun your own virtuous cycle project. Please do a kindness for someone. Don't expect it to be repaid. See how far it ripples through humanity. I remain your friend, Deborah. Bye-bye.